Hey, welcome back to YT Finance, and this is the channel where I went to business school so you didn't need to, and today we are talking about the latest news updates regarding Sofi Technologies and Palantir Technologies. So, regarding the SOFI stock price, the price has recently surged based off of their Q2 earnings report, which we will review in this video, and I will be telling investors why the current stock price is surging, where it could fall back down to, and what we could see from this company well into the future. Then after that, we're going to be going over the latest news updates for Palantir Technologies, particularly regarding their Q2 estimates for what they are projected to bring in on their Q2 earnings report to determine if this same momentum can be applied to Palantir Technologies if they end up beating their earnings projections so the PLTR stock can move higher. For more videos like this one, remember to go and smash that like button right now, comment your thoughts down below, subscribe if you are new, and without further ado, let's just jump right into today's stories. If you didn't know, Sofi Technologies is a fintech company or a financial technology company that operates as a digital bank. They have an all-in-one inclusive digital app where they give their customers the ability to access a plethora of various financial services and financial products. Currently, the Sofi stock price trades for $7.78, and analysts think that the company is worth anywhere between $7 and $11 over the next 12 months. We also have a great development in this because a recent analyst and institution has actually increased their overall price target for SoFi's SOFI stock. I also want to point out that the stock price has jumped by around 21.83% as of right now, and I do expect and anticipate this to cool off later on in the week. So why is this happening right now? Why is the SOFI stock price for Sofi Technologies absolutely exploding? Well, as you know, it's due to their Q2 earnings report, where they brought in a quarterly adjusted loss of 12 cents per share for their earnings per share, or EPS, and they brought in $356 million worth of revenue, which is absolutely phenomenal. To put this into perspective, in previous videos we talked about what they were supposed to bring in and their original forecasts, which was an earnings per share loss of 14 cents and revenues of $340.8 million. And because the EPS of a 12-cent loss is much more bullish and positive than a 14-cent loss, and because they brought in around $16 million extra in terms of their revenue, this has invigorated investors, and that's why the SoFi stock price is surging right now. The CEO of Sofi Technologies even had to comment on this phenomenal news by saying, and I quote, "We generated record adjusted net revenue, which was up 50% year over year, and our 8th consecutive quarter of positive adjusted EBITDA, which doubled sequentially." He goes on to say, "While the political, fiscal, and economic landscapes continue to shift around us, we have maintained strong and consistent momentum in our business," end quote. So a 50% year-over-year growth rate in terms of their adjusted net revenue is absolutely insane. And the reason why this news is so phenomenal is because if you can identify a company that is growing at or over a 30% CAGR, which is their compounding annual growth rate in terms of their revenues, this company is rapidly scaling, innovating, and growing, which is precisely what we're seeing from Palantir Technologies, because a 50% increase in their revenues are way better than a 30% increase, even though 30% still is absolutely phenomenal. Management also anticipates strong future growth during the second half of 2022, where they actually adjusted their full year adjusted net revenue guidance to come in between $1.508 billion and $1.513 billion, which is an increase from their previous guidance of only $1.505 billion and $1.51 billion. So clearly, this is very positive news. Another thing that I want to point out is that originally, I was surprised that they had such an impressive earnings beat and their revenue beat, because during such an inflationary economy where interest rates are so high, I didn't anticipate many people to go out and acquire personal loans, mortgages, or refinance their student loans yet. However, in SoFi's case, this has been the exact opposite, and it's mainly due to Sofi offering extremely competitive rates compared to their competition, because they're giving their customers better deals than other fintech companies, and that's why we saw an increase in these particular metrics. Lastly, we actually see that various institutions and analysts are actually increasing the Sofi stock price target because of this earnings beat, to where one analyst increased his price target from $7 up to $8. He also says, and I quote, "Following some anticipation so far this year, it was nice to to see a strong beat and raise by SoFi with strength across the board and a nice increase to the fiscal year guide. And I completely agree with him. This is very bullish news, so hopefully investors can start to see the potential upside and the growth prospects for SoFi Technologies. But the good news doesn't start there, it continues. Because like I alluded to earlier, the company actually experienced an increase in their personal loans, which is going to allow the company's business model to take place, which is their flywheel business model, where they can bring a customer in through personal loans or any other type of loan or product or service, and then they can cross-sell their other products to this particular customer, which will not only help the customer in the long run, because I think SoFi does have phenomenal financial services and products, but it also builds a relationship between SoFi and their customer, and it also enables SoFi to bring in more revenues as time progresses, as they further build that relationship between the company and the customer. Many investors are taking this opportunity to invest into SoFi Technologies right now because the shares have actually lost around 60% of its value during the year of 2022, and this is mainly due to the student loan moratorium still being active, which is where former students don't have to pay on their student loans because they are frozen and not accruing interest, so these people don't actually have to start paying on their student loans, and interest isn't accruing because of this government policy. However, we should look forward to the student loan moratorium ending either at the end of August or the beginning of 2023, because management of SoFi Technologies says that the student loan moratorium will be ongoing and expects it to be pushed out until the beginning of 2023. And when that eventually and inevitably happens, even if the student loan moratorium is pushed out to the beginning of 2023, it will end. And when it does, it's going to act as a phenomenal catalyst for this particular company, thus increasing their stock price. So that gives us a huge catalyst to look forward to in 2023, and we have an even better catalyst to look forward to at the end of 2024, which is when this company is projected to become a profitable company, which is going to work wonders for their stock price. So overall, I am very impressed for what SoFi did in their Q2 earnings report. So after going over all of the fantastic news regarding SoFi Technologies, mainly due to their fantastic Q2 earnings report, and this is what's causing their SoFi stock price to absolutely surge right now, let's see if the same momentum can potentially be applied to Palantir Technologies, because Palantir Technologies also has their Q2 earnings report coming up. If you didn't know, Palantir Technologies is a big data and analytics company that interprets data to allow an organization or a company to make data-driven decisions, and they have a multitude of both commercial clients as well as government clients. Right now, the PLTR stock price trades for $11.22. However, analysts think that the company is worth anywhere between $6 on the low end and $20 on the high end over the next 12 months. So hopefully, Palantir Technologies can actually have an earnings beat, which could cause the PLTR stock price to explode. Now, I do have two caveats to this. The first one is Palantir Technologies has already increased their stock price extremely aggressively. Just over the last month and a half, Palantir has absolutely increased their stock price at an astounding rate. We were talking about Palantir back when it was around $7 per share, and right now it's trading at around $11. So it actually wouldn't surprise me if this approaching earnings report is used as an opportunity for a PLTR stock price correction, which would cause the PLTR stock price to fall. But let's see what Wall Street anticipates. Well, right now, Wall Street and other experts project a year-over-year decline in Palantir's earnings. However, they do anticipate a revenue beat, and this could clearly impact the near-term stock price of Palantir Technologies. Whether that's going to be for better or for worse, we're going to have to wait and find out. In SoFi's case, clearly it ignited the stock price, where the SoFi stock jumped over 20%, and hopefully Palantir can mimic that. However, I wouldn't put money on that. They're expected to release their Q2 report on August 8th of 2022, and if they miss their current projections from Wall Street, it's going to cause the PLTR stock price to fall. However, if they end up having an earnings surprise and a revenue beat, this could ignite the stock price potentially. As the current metrics stand, experts project that the quarterly earnings for the company are going to come in at 3 cents per share in their upcoming earnings report on August 8th, which is going to be their Q2 earnings report. But this would represent a year-over-year decline of a loss of 25%, which is really not that positive. Now, on the flip side, their revenues are supposed to come in at around $471.53 million, which would represent an increase of around 25.5% from the same quarter last year. Now, the only reason why this is more bullish than the earnings, however, it's still not ideal because their management projects that they're supposed to bring in a 30% CAGR in terms of their revenue, which is their compounding annual growth rate, from now until 2025. So having a quarter come in at less than 30% is actually not very positive. We want each quarter to be at or above 30%, so the entire year-over-year basis can also grow by around 30%. However, that's not what we're seeing for this particular quarter. Now, this doesn't mean that the entire year is going to be thrown off and that they won't meet that 30% compounding annual growth rate in regards for their revenue. It just means that in quarter two, they had a very rough time, which hopefully Palantir can bounce back from. I also want to mention that stock professionals within the last 30 days actually lowered their earnings per share estimates for this company by around 12%, which really hurt Palantir Technologies. Now, it would be phenomenal if they could release an earnings surprise and a revenue beat, which would be absolutely fantastic, because if they end up releasing a 4-cent EPS or earnings per share and revenues above or around $480 million, that is going to be substantially more positive for the stock, and I think it would cause the PLTR stock price to surge. However, based on current metrics, if they meet current projections or miss on current projections, I think it's going to be used as a Palantir correction, and it's going to lower the PLTR stock price down to what investors think it's actually worth. Even Zacks Rank says this company is rated as a hold rating because from their proprietary rating system, they have 1, which is the best buying opportunity on the stock market right now, which would equate to a strong buying opportunity, and then a 5 would be a strong selling opportunity, and right now, Zacks Rank ranks Palantir Technologies as a 3, which is a hold rating. Now, it is very difficult to gauge future projections. We're literally just speculating here based off of educated guesses and forecasts as well as projections from experts. However, these are very influential because if they beat these projections, that's something that we literally want to happen, but if they don't, it's going to act as a double-edged sword and the PLTR stock price is going to fall. So what do I personally think is going to happen? Well, first, I want to look at their overall history to determine how likely they are to actually bring in an EPS beat. Well, if we look at the past 4 quarters and their past 4 quarterly earnings reports, they only beat on their earnings per share 1 time. So I don't anticipate that they are going to beat on their EPS. I do think it's going to come in at around 3 cents per share. However, in regards to their revenues, I do believe they are going to bring in enough revenue to actually beat current projections, which is going to be rather positive, but overall it's going to be a mixed basket. Now, I do want to emphasize that even if they have an earnings beat or an earnings miss, that is not going to be the sole reason for the stock moving higher or lower. There are plenty of other factors that can also cause volatility within the stock price, especially in regards to such a growth company such as Palantir Technologies. But overall, I am looking forward to Palantir Technologies' quarter 2 report. Hopefully, they can deliver an earnings beat as well as a revenue beat, but we will just have to see. And remember, we're looking for them to bring in revenues over $471.53 million. And again, ideally, we would want them to beat an EPS of 3 cents per share, but we're just going to have to wait to find out. Remember to go and subscribe right now, turn on the bell notifications, smash that like button for more videos like this one. And with that being said, I will see you in the next YT video.